1, 2,
Yo.
3.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys. Ready?
Yep.
Man, Steph Curry makes history. The Lakers are looking for a Westbrook trade. And what is going on with the New York Knicks? I'm Rosa Panta. This is the Clinic All NBA podcast. I have the three hooligans with me. JJ, how you living, my friend?
Ho, ho, ho. And I'm not talking about Sami, Junior, and John.
John, how you living, my friend?
I can't believe that was just said. I'm good, though. I'm good. I'm doing well.
I'm a little shook, too. Sami, how you living?
Speechless, but enjoying the holiday season, apparently.
Well, let's get to it, boys. Steph Curry, Chef Curry, the three-point god. Every moniker you want to name him just broke the three-point record. Now with 29.77 threes, he broke Ray Allen's record of 29.73. What do you guys think of this, man?
Well, if there was still a few haters trying to debate it before, undoubtedly there is no debate, there is no argument. We are watching the greatest shooter of all time at 33, the peak of his powers, when a lot of guys are starting to fade off into the twilight and he looks like he's got 4 or 5 years left. Big ups to Steph, man. No matter how, if you like the Warriors or if you're not a fan of them, you can't help but like him and watch him play and just enjoy that you're watching greatness. You can see it. And the fact that it was done at MSG just makes it even better. The only spot that probably would have been better is if he did it at home. But MSG greeted him like he was in the Bay, which was pretty awesome to show respect for a moment like that. So big ups to Steph.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch as a basketball fan. I know Warrior fans and Bay Area people, it was special for them, but as an outsider, as somebody who's not a Warriors fan, it was just incredible to see. And to do it in nearly half the games that Ray Allen did is mind-blowing, to be quite frank.
Holla.
He is just undoubtedly, like what Sami said, the greatest shooter of all time, and it's not even a debate. So it's one of those things where some things are debatable, but not this. And it's not even close. But I'm so happy for Steph, and he's gonna shoot a lot more threes and make a lot more threes. So he's got a long way to go. So this is just the start.
He's gonna annihilate this.
He's gonna annihilate it. Yeah.
I'm about to cry, but I'm containing it.
JJ's actually wiping his tears with this Steph Curry shirt right now, or jersey right now that is rocking.
Yeah, it's just really cool, especially with the bond that us four have with basketball. We love basketball so much. We play it, we watch it, we grew up with it. And there are moments that we look back and we say, we could talk for hours. We even talk hours after we record the pod, and these are the kind of moments where you could appreciate the game, because there are these human beings that do these incredible acts of athleticism that only less than 1% of the world could do, and Steph resembles that. Incredible athlete. Oh, let me even bring it back. Like, he's not even that incredible athlete. He has developed the skill set of shooting where it just seems like it's so easy. And I know the TNT crew says it's effortless, right?
Right.
And I think that's just awesome that they say that. As a Warrior fan, I always thought, man, if I lived in Chicago and I saw MJ, that would be so great. I'm jealous of John because he grew up watching Magic and Kobe, and to call Steph our own here at home in the Bay Area, it's just a dream come true, to be quite frank. So props to Steph. Let me wipe my tears.
And we were on the text feed after this happened, and JJ put it kind of beautifully. He said that we were having a debate whether or not Steph is over Kobe or Kobe is over Steph. And JJ was basically saying that to him, Steph Curry, is up there because, after Jordan, we were sort of just wanting more, right? We wanted someone to pull us into basketball, and Steph Curry was that for us, especially here in the Bay Area. just as a little factoid here, this is Steph Curry's current career stats with shooting. His percentages from the field, 47.5. From 3-point, 43.1. From the free throw line, his 90.7. Oh. That means that this guy, his split at the end of his career might be 48, 40, and 90, which is absolutely ridiculous shooting over the course of his career. We're not just talking about just a single season, and people give props to 50, 40, 90 seasons all the time. This dude is going to be close to that for his career. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And the one other thing that I think a lot of people forget, even probably all of us sometimes, well, outside of, I don't want to speak for our Warriors fans here, is just how many ankle injuries he had early in his career, and that things easily could have gone in another way. And it's a combination to me of a couple things. One is clearly his own work ethic and his dedication. But two is the right fit, the right team, the right situation, even the right training staff. Because if he stays healthy, a player like this is transcendent. He's going to be great no matter what. But there is no way that there was a better fit than putting him with Steve Kerr, with that training staff, with that front office. Perfect. This is when there's a beautiful mesh of player and organization, and you get the maximum output from the player, and we all benefit as fans.
Also, that he was such an underdog going into college. Going into Davidson, they thought he was undersized. He was not, bulky. He wasn't NBA body ready, but he showed up in Davidson. He was drafted high, and he started balling out in the NBA. And now he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame clearly, and one of the greatest players to play the games. It's an amazing underdog story.
And just to add on to what you two were saying, I know people are saying he would have broke the record sooner or later, but what have we seen from these athletes? Don't take anything for granted. That's like the main thing. Like Derrick Rose, after his first MVP, there was so much promise. You have Penny, you have Grant Hill, you have all countless names, and you never want to take these special players for granted. Right?
True.
Yeah, I agree. And with you talking about his work ethic, I just wanted to point out that with his ankles, the training staff actually saw a problem with the way that he was running. So he literally had to recreate the way that he runs around the court, and we all know how much running he does per game with his off-ball movement. So that's a testament to just his greatness. Another factoid, in the tunnel after the game, Steph Curry pulls out the rolexes for Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala. So do you guys think this is an appropriate gift for him breaking the record?
Definitely. I mean, those guys in particular have been on the ride with him the whole time. And so I know that part of it was the assist amounts, but I'm sure there was more to it than that. It was funny that KD tweeted asking for his. You can afford it. Get your own damn Rolex. But.
Come on. Get it from Kyrie at the Whole Foods off of Broadway.
Steph Curry is sending a G-Shock or a Timex. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the next topic here. We're actually going to put a team under the clinic microscope, and it was actually the team that the Warriors took down. It's the New York Knicks. They are 12-16, 12th in the East. They recently have 7 losses in their last 8 games. They've had, the 23rd most difficult schedule, the 24th most difficult schedule thus far. What do you guys think of the off-season, promising New York Knicks, and now they're kind of going downhill?
Does anybody think it's a coincidence that Kemba Walker was benched 9 games ago, and they've lost 7 of the last 8 games? I mean, it's easy to put, say, 1 + 1 = 2, but I think some of it is about that. And I know that Kemba's was having a bad shooting game. He's not the greatest defender. And under Tom Thibodeau, a coach like Tom, he values defensive-minded players. But I think where it's overlooked goes beyond the stat sheet. Kemba Walker is another threat from three-point land. He was shooting above 40% from deep this year, and that spaces the floor. he's also somebody that can drive and open things up for other players, which I think that stuff like that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And one thing that the Knicks have been struggling with, I've seen a few games, as we saw the game, they played the Warriors, and their issues were offensively. It wasn't the defense. It was that the ball was getting stuck. It wasn't moving, and I think Kemba Walker could help with that. Now, obviously, there are some other issues there too. Julius Randle is one of those guys where it feels like there's a ceiling with him. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I feel like he's hit that ceiling, and I don't know if there's any more room to go up. And that might be an issue. I think Randle might be better fit as a number 2 on a championship team, not a number 1. Pretty good. They're 12-16. The East is a lot stronger than it used to be, so they need to pick it up soon, and they need to pick it up fast if they're going to make the playoffs. So it's tough to be a Knicks fan. Sorry, Spike.
They're 2 off-season pickups in Fournier and
Kemba.
And Kemba, they haven't really contributed much. Especially Fournier, like he was 1 for 5, and he just seemed like he wasn't even on the floor. You know, there are people when you watch basketball, you could see their presence, even though their stats don't say it. Like for example, Draymond Green
or Iggy.
You know they're on the floor, but
Right.
for him, you don't even notice him.
Bonafide scrub.
You have Barrett, who's had shooting trouble, and I'm glad that John actually said this, which is Randle, terrible on transition D. Even the Knicks fans are attacking him and wanting a trade.
Get out of my house!
I know last year they ended up with the 4th seed, and we wanted another Knicks versus Hawks playoff run this year. But man, they look bad right now. And I know Sami, you watched them back in the day too, so I'm really interested in hearing what you have to say about this team now.
Well, there's a couple things where I agree with both of you on. One, I think they clearly need a number 1. Randle was amazing last year. He's not a number 1. They're not winning a title with him. So I think he could be a number 2. I think Barrett could develop into a number 3, although he seems like he's regressed a little bit too, particularly on the offensive end. So you wonder if there's a trade out there for them to land a number 1. Obviously, those guys don't grow on trees. Those are hard trades to make. But that feels like it'll slot everyone else where they need to be. The other thing that's interesting, and we talked about, it's Thibodeau. We expect the defense to be there. 2020, this team was 4th in defensive rating. This year, it's fallen off a cliff. They're 24th. Most of their other ratings and rankings are similar. I mean, their offense is actually slightly better, amazing as that is to say. They were 22nd, now they're up to 20th. It's not a big jump, but they're similar. So they're similar in assist-to-turnover ratio. They're similar to pace. So it just feels like the chemistry that was there last year isn't quite as existent. They do have a lot of players that can get on the court. So that's the type of team that, to me, you see a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 kind of trade. Because you have 11 guys potentially that could be rotation players. That's too many. You need closer to 8 or 9. So that's one thing that I see. And otherwise, it's just, this is a team that's mostly built from their drafting. The guys they sign aren't main pieces. Like, they're shooters. That Kemba is supposed to be a complementary piece at this point in his career. Fournier is supposed to be the same way. They haven't quite fallen into place, but I think it all relates back to they need a guy at the end of the game that they can give the ball to and have confidence that he can create his own shot. And sometimes that's Randle and sometimes it isn't. So yeah, that's how I'm seeing it.
You know, I agree with you, Sami, and I think the problem is that what they banked on during the offseason was basically the team that they had was the best version of the Knicks that you were going to get. They didn't want to make a lot of big changes. They got Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, like we were saying, just to improve the offense. But they're not good defensive players, so that's why we're seeing a big drop-off in defense, because those two players early on were playing a lot of minutes because they're like, well, we need to fix the offense. But the thing is that if your number 1 is Julius Randle, and I said this last year, I said, how good is Julius Randle really? Like, is this the best version of Julius Randle we're going to get in 2020, 2021? And guess what? It kind of was, right? That might be the best version that we're going to get. And that might be it for the Knicks. I don't know what else that what else they could do besides making a trade for hopefully a better piece, a more complementary piece to Randle instead of just relying on him to do everything. Because I think that's sort of where they're at right now. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I do, and I think you look at some of the pieces they have between Quickly, Toppin, Robinson. These are all young guys, cheap contracts that other teams will want.
Yeah.
So
I think they're pretty good value.
Yeah,
pieces,
there's a trade out there for them. It's just who's that team and are they willing to do it? Like, you know who I would personally love to see there, and I know we're going to talk about trades later. I think Domantas Sabonis would be great on this team, and I know he's not necessarily a number one, but he's a great passing big. He could slot in next to Randle, play the 5. And Randle can be a little bit of a ball stopper sometimes, and they don't have a traditional point guard right now. They're playing Burks. A guy like that who can move the ball, keep the flow of the offense going, I actually think would unlock that offense a lot, despite Thibodeau's tendency to play a lot of iso ball. So
Right.
I think that might be the kind of player they need. I don't think Sabonis is a 1, but I think he would drastically improve that team's offensive flow.
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, let's just take it to the next segment, which is basically the unofficial trade season is here. And December 15th is viewed as the unofficial start, basically because players or free agents who were signed the prior offseason become eligible to be dealt. So Sami just gave an excellent trade idea. Do you guys have some other ones?
I think we need to cover what we've been covering. We need to cover again what we've been covering the past few episodes, which is LeBron and Dame need help or a change, especially Dame. Dame, they're falling sideways. He's a top 75 player, whether you agree with it or not. Dude, is this another episode that I love Dame again and I have to...
You lose.
Can someone help me out here?
That's unofficially the name of the podcast, actually.
Yeah, we're gonna take out the all NBA moniker and just put I love Dame instead. But JJ, I agree with you. That's the trade that I'm waiting for, is for what the Blazers are gonna do, because they gotta find a way to go get Myles Turner or go get Sabonis or someone from the Pacers, or maybe go get Ben Simmons and just help Dame out, man.
I still
Help
got to
him
go the
out.
opposite way on this. I think if they miss the plan, which Jay mentioned that we
Go
have a
fire
text
sale.
chain. If in our text chain we were talking about that, if they miss the plan, I think Dame does not come back to the team next year. I think he gets traded.
Ooh.
What?
So they
John.
might make an in-season move, but I just don't think. I think they blow it up in the offseason if they don't even make the plan.
Do you want me to comment further on the Blazers, or have we beaten that horse to death?
Other trades.
We got
Other trades.
Or the
Okay,
Blazers,
okay,
up to
other
you.
trades. I'll move on to other teams. So I know that the Lakers are on here. We love to talk about their struggles, but I will say that they have been playing much better as of late. They've won 3 in a row. I know that Luka wasn't playing tonight against the Mavs. Lakers were missing some people due to health and safety protocols. But one thing I've noticed, which was their issue or their biggest struggle, was the defense. But they're actually 11th, which is average. They're in their defensive rating at 107.2. So they've definitely improved in that statistic. So I think there's still room to grow and still room to build that cohesion. So that, like I said at the beginning of the year, I want to give it more time. I know people were panicking and saying, well, they need to make a move, but I wanted to give at least half the season, and they're showing improvement, which I like. So I think the Lakers should stand pat unless they find some, well, stand pat in terms of their superstars, their main pieces, which is obviously LeBron, Westbrook, and AD. Now, if they can find value and trade guys that aren't really getting playing time or maybe don't fit, then I think you obviously have to pull that trigger. But in terms of any big moves, I would stand pat for the Lakers as of now.
So you want the Lakers to hold on to Westbrook?
As of today, December
As of today.
15th, 16th, what's today?
The 15th.
December
The 15th.
15th.
Come 2022, I might have a New Year's resolution and I might want to send him packing. But as of now, no. I want to keep him.
Listeners, mark
Isn't he
your
in the news though, guys? Isn't he in the news today?
little bit. Apparently,
Little
the
bit.
Lakers don't agree with John on this one.
Or it's fake news.
Listeners, please mark this date that we found one fan who wants to keep Westbrook on the Lakers. There is one.
You know, I'm gonna pat myself on the back a little bit because when the Lakers got Westbrook, I remember putting my conspiracy hat on and telling John, I was like, I don't think Westbrook is the last move. I think he's actually just a move to match contracts to get something bigger. So, I mean, if it does happen, that'd be freaking awesome because I'd feel really smart.
Nice.
Anyway.
Can I add on some?
Go ahead.
I could talk about trades legitimately for hours on end, so I have a few quick things. I'll try not to spend 20 minutes here.
Shut up!
On one front, we've talked about teams that we think potentially could be fire sale or what have you. Among those, Pacers, Kings, and Pelicans. I actually like all three of those as potential spots for Ben Simmons. I think Simmons needs to go to a team where he's out of the spotlight. Clearly, that's not his forte. Where the team could be built around him, which I think it would be in any of those situations. So I like that as one idea, and clearly all three of them have the pieces. And sake of argument for the Pacers, take a pick of any of those players that we've talked about: LeVert, Sabonis, Turner. Could, in their case, probably LeVert would be the basis there, which isn't quite enough, but you could build a package around him. With the Kings, you could easily go with Fox, Bagley, Hield, all those pieces that we've talked about. The Pelicans, a very interesting trade that I heard proposed was Ingram for Simmons straight up. That was a very interesting one that actually makes sense across the board for both. So that's one thing. In terms of fit and players we know are available, I did a little work on the trade machine. And there's an interesting one that I wanted to ask our Warrior fans here about. Wiseman and Looney straight up for Myles Turner works in the trade machine. And I feel like Myles Turner could actually really fit the Warriors quite nicely, actually better than Sabonis. He's that interior shot blocking presence. He can step out, hit the occasional three, doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands, because as much as I just was talking about how much I love Sabonis' game, I don't think he fits there because he needs the ball more to be a creator, which obviously isn't happening in Golden State.
I feel like JJ and June are very partial to Kevon Looney, and I think there's reason for it. He's actually an underrated player who does a lot of the dirty work for that team. I don't
disagree with you there. The reason that I had to use him is I was looking at the contracts, and he's the one that slots with Wiseman where the money works. Otherwise, you're trading. I mean, if you could substitute him out in theory for like three $1.5 million players, then you could keep him on as the backup, which would probably be ideal. But what do you guys think of that? Would you be happy if you traded Wiseman for Turner? Turner's under contract for this year and next, by the way.
I'm gonna let JJ take the first swing. Go for it.
Well, we just played the Pacers and Sabonis tore us up. But I'm all about win now mode. Windows close. We all know that. And we need to capitalize on Steph Curry's career, Draymond, and Klay. I think they're just going to wait and see how Klay and Wiseman come back. But, like, I love that Sami talked about defense, especially in the center position, because I feel that Wiseman was a defensive liability last year. His plus and minus was worse on the team. Even Oubre had a better plus minus. Ouch.
Hell no!
Ouch.
Michael Jordan is laughing at you right now.
True.
While JJ's giving the crying Jordan face.
You know, JJ is completely right. Kevon Looney is actually weirdly important to the team as far as solidifying the 5 spot. And if Steve Kerr feels like it's an upgrade to get Myles Turner and that it's not going to harm the chemistry at all, because the bad part about shipping off Looney is that you literally lose years of chemistry. And if there's anything that we know about the Golden State Warriors is that everything is almost predicated on knowing exactly what the other teammate is going to do. And Looney has been very, very predictable, very solid. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. It's just that he's a high, what is that? Low ceiling, high floor kind of guy. Floor.
So
yeah,
you could sub him out and substitute Damian Lee, JTA, and Bielitsa. with Wiseman, and then you would
God,
keep
I
him.
love the elite.
See, that's the problem. There's so much depth, good depth on that team that no matter how you construct this trade, you're having to unload good players. So, but that's another one. Just throwing it out there. I just wanted to see what you guys thought
I
of
like
Turner
these
fitting
trades.
on the Warriors.
Let me conclude by saying, in the playoffs, when it matters, you have Aiden, you have Embiid, and you have Giannis. Who is going to play defense on those dudes?
That was kind of my point of emphasis for looking at this kind of trade.
Hold up.
My only counter to that is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And as a Laker fan, after winning in the bubble in 2020, I know that was special circumstances. The general manager decided to not re-sign Dwight and added Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, trying to counter some other moves that other teams made. But like June said, chemistry is extremely important. Knowing where guys are going to be on the court when you're making a certain pass, making cuts, is super undervalued. We always look at big names. We always look at, the stats. We don't look at the intangibles, and I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, I agree. And all right, I'm gonna move on to our next topic here. And Bleacher Report has a report on contenders and their weaknesses and their odds. And basically, what I want you guys to do is basically tell me if they're reaching or it's accurate. I have some examples here, like the Brooklyn Nets. They have the lack of scoring depth. The Warriors, they have unremarkable options up front. The Bucks have the Brook Lopez absence. Basically, the team and their problem. What do you guys think of this list? What stands out to you?
Well, I'll pick one or two to focus on. I'm actually going to go to Utah. Bleacher Report pointed out their weakness as wing defense. I think that's a slight weakness of theirs, but the elephant in the room with them is that the defensive player of the year in the regular season is a total liability defensively in the playoffs, that being Rudy. And we've seen this year after year after year.
Yeah.
They have to prove it in the playoffs, and the problem is, as good as he is in the regular season, they can't post him up. They can't use him to punish other teams.
True.
And so the Clippers did it last year. They were down 2-0. They put in Batum and started him at center, and all of a sudden they ran Gobert off the floor. So they need to solve that problem. And it's weird to say that about a guy who's, again, the defensive player of the year in the regular season. But I don't think as constructed they're going to get past the second round because of that. So in that case, I think that's by far the biggest issue. It's bigger than wing defense.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Absolutely. I'm going to quote Kevin Durant again. It's funny that the defensive player of the year gets hunted during the playoffs, and that's Rudy
Exactly.
Gobert. So what about, are there any other picks here?
I'm going to go with Duncan Robinson and his struggles, only because the Heat paid him $90 million for 5 years, which is a lot of money. And I know that there's some bad contracts out there. Michael Porter Jr. comes to mind. But if you're paying somebody $90 million, and not just the money, but the length of time, 5 years, you're kind of strapped. And this year he's shooting 37% from the field and 33% from three, which are both downgrades from 2020. 2020, he was shooting 40% from field goal and 41% from 3-point in 2020. So downgrade across the board, and he's a key piece. He's a starter for the Heat. He spaces the floor, and if he's not playing well, that's going to affect the other aspects. Even though the Heat are playing well, he is going to be one of those guys that's going to have to step it up if they're going to have a chance to compete in the East and also for a title.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there. I think the Miami Heat, like, everyone sort of picks them as like their sleeper in the East, and Duncan Robinson has to be a big part of their success this year. For me, I'm actually going to pick the 76ers here and the Ben Simmons-less defense. And the reason why I'm picking them is because currently they're, 20th on defense right now. And so obviously there is a problem there. But the thing that they're not taking into consideration is that Ben Simmons is a huge trade piece. It's not currently, it's a problem that's current, but it might not be a problem later on if they can move Ben Simmons for some more pieces. I mean, how much money is really sitting there, right?
Right.
that they could use to match it with other stuff. So I don't.
That was my pick,
completely
actually, the
agree with
76ers.
it. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
it's not even just Ben Simmons is not there playing, and that's a trade piece, but Embiid is playing crazy minutes right now.
Oh, right.
And he's had injury issues. So what's going to happen when it comes to playoffs?
Ooh.
And he got injured in the playoffs last year. He
That's
played
true.
through it. Give him all the credit for the toughness, but this is clearly someone who needs to be playing close to 30 minutes a night max, just based on durability.
Right. You know, these are all interesting points, but I'm going to move us on to our last segment here. And RJ is going to hit us off with our predictions here. I'm going to give us a quick breakdown off of our, like basically what the scoreboard is. Sami is in first place here. He's 5-1 with predictions. I'm second place, 4-2. JJ and John are tied at 2 and 4. So RJ, you got some games for us to predict?
So I'm going to go a little contrarian here. I'm actually going to take the Celtics. And the reason I'm saying that is because as focused as the Warriors normally are, I'm sure they will be on a level. You're coming down from a historical accomplishment in the most famous arena in the league. I feel like there's going to be just a little bit of an emotional letdown in this game. And so I think the Celtics will take advantage. I know it's blasphemy on this podcast.
That is blasphemous.
There's got to be some emotional letdown after the last game, because it was literally one of the greatest accomplishments in history that the team got to witness. And they're still on the road, they're still traveling. So I see a little bit of a letdown here, and I think Boston takes this game.
I always bet on the Warriors.
There we go.
Even if I thought the Celtics were gonna win based on all of the good points that Sami made, I would have never picked the Celtics based on principle. So I'm gonna go with the Warriors.
Man, we've talked about the Celtics before. They cannot be trusted. They can't be trusted. But you know who you could trust? Steph Curry, the three-point champion, man. I'm going with the Warriors.
I'm picking the Lakers, but if the Wolves beat them, I'm gonna be super pissed. Lakers.
That really makes me want to take the Wolves, but I'm actually going to agree with John. I think the Lakers take this. They seem to be finding their flow a little bit, especially since they discovered sharpshooter Austin Reeves tonight.
My boy. Caruso's replacement, baby. Let's go.
Just for entertainment's sake, I'll pick the Wolves, and D'Lo's gonna blow up.
Now we know why
exactly.
Now we know why JJ's 2 and 4.
You're right.
Dang, Sami took my point, man. Bringing up Austin Reeves. I gotta go Lakers, man. Going Lakers.
I gotta go Cavs, man. The Bucks, they have health issues. Giannis just got categorized with COVID issues.
Yep.
And Middleton's out with an injury
Ooh.
upon their other health mishaps. So, gotta go with the Cavs.
You know, I'm gonna go the other way here. I'm gonna say the Cavs are a young team. They're gonna be like, oh, this is gonna be such an easy win. And then they're gonna flop. And I'm gonna say that the championship Bucks come out with a victory here.
I'm gonna go with the Cavs. And Kevin Love, the corpse of Kevin Love has been restored, and he's been playing well again. How old is he? Like 56 or something?
The corpse of Kevin Love.
I'm going with the corpse. I like the Cavs in this game as well.
All right, thanks RJ for doing that. Boys, I have to thank you for being on. JJ, thanks for being on, man.
Thank you guys, and thank you listeners.
John, thanks for being on, man.
Thank you, ho ho ho, and that's actually Santa saying it.
And Sammy, thank you.
Always a pleasure.
And of course, I'm Rosa Panta. This is the Clinic All NBA podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcast.